The college football playoff rankings have come out, and they screwed up on 2 teams. And we're going to tell you which 2 teams should be in the finals instead. Jordan Love, looking good. Something's still a little bit broken, and we're going to tell you what. And there is one guy on this show that you should listen to for your NFL picks. And let me tell you, it's me. That and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who was at the Rutgers-Princeton game. Yes, the first college football game on November 6, 1869. My dad, Tim.
Wasn't there.
The summer of 69.
Yeah.
Written about you in 1869.
Maybe.
Got your first real 6-string. Bought it at the 5 and dime.
You don't ever want to hear me play the guitar, and no, I wasn't at that.
It would be fun, actually, just to hear how bad it would be. I am also not musically inclined, so I have nothing to say on that one. But how was it, though? I mean, I heard it was much more like rugby back then.
So I walked into your house today.
Changing the subject, I see.
Very quickly. You had to buy some new stuff.
I did, yeah. Yeah, so Thursday.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Thursday, the fridge and stove go out at the same time. But we did get a really nice deal to Blyant's for less. And we had 2 really nice guys deliver. You were here from them, Sean and Quan. They were awesome. They had my favorite saying of all time. They have 2 new little girls, and they said the best hood is parenthood, which I cannot agree with more.
That should be a card on Mother's and Father's Day.
It should be, because the best hood is parenthood.
Yeah.
That is my motto for life now. So Sean and Quan, if you were listening, thank you for that, and thank you for the good work that you did installing the fridge and stove. They look nice.
They do. They look great.
They look nice. Do you want to tell the audience one of the reasons I needed to get a new fridge?
I really don't want to get into it.
That you ripped the handle off my freezer? It's impressive.
It wasn't on purpose.
It
was partially broke.
Jack did break part of it already.
He's a strong one.
Yes, but I will tell you what, as impressive as that is, do you know what is not impressive?
Well, if it's like you, or if it's like me, it's the college football Final Four.
What did they do?
They screwed it up, but
listen,
they also went with what's going to make the most money, and they figured, hey, this is the last year, so we're going to really stick it to somebody who tried to leave the ACC.
This is a joke. This is an absolute 100% joke. Anybody on that committee should be fired.
Well, there were 5 ACC members, including the chairman,
that voted against Florida State. So let's talk about Florida State first. So to give some context, in case you don't know, the college football rankings, top 4 teams, they came out. The top 4 teams are Michigan at 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4. That has been the final decision.
And oh, by the way, Florida State was in the Final Four last week. They went on to win the ACC championship.
Alabama beat Georgia. A couple of things happened. Michigan ran Iowa out. Washington beat Oregon for the second time. Texas won their conference championship, and Alabama beat Georgia in their conference championship. Florida State also won the ACC.
Power 5 conference.
And to give some history on Florida State was about to vote on joining the Big Ten at the beginning of this year. They didn't think they had the votes, and so they held off until later to make that vote. So when you are saying the 5 ACC members of the selection committee, none of them voted for Florida State, which is a big, don't let that door hit you on the way out.
It really is. And make no mistake that this was a slam to them for a couple reasons. Number one, Jordan Travis got hurt. Their All-American quarterback went down and wasn't there.
Still won.
But make no mistake, this is the job that Deion Sanders wanted earlier this year.
Yeah.
If he gets
earlier, this was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. If he would have been the coach of this team, no way they keep him out.
No, it's good television.
They use the excuse, well, Jordan Travis is hurt. They're on a third-string quarterback.
Let's talk about this, because this is where it infuriates me, right? I'm an Ohio State fan.
Yeah, we know.
We don't hide this on this show. I cheer for championship teams. Ohio State's last national championship in 2012 with Urban Meyer. They had J.T. Barrett as their starting quarterback. He gets hurt the last game of the year. You have Cordell Jones now as your starter with, by the way, Joe Burrow on the bench at that time. He did not play.
Which is why he's an LSU player, not an Ohio State player.
Ohio State quarterback at one point. Parentheses.
Go on.
So Cordell Jones then in the semifinals gets hurt, and Dwayne Haskins comes in and wins the national championship. So this BS of them talking about, well, your starting quarterback's not in there. We've had in the last decade an Ohio State team that was on their third string quarterback and beat, by the way, Alabama to win the national championship. So this is bull. If you win, you're in. You have a 13-0 team in Florida State, and they chose two 12-1 teams instead.
And look, there's no way Alabama should have been in. They got beat by Texas.
Right.
So I get why Texas is in.
I don't.
I have no problem with leaving the SEC out this year because it
should have happened.
Should have happened. I could have seen it happening, but it never would have happened because the money is too big. If they really want to make a point, and I'll let you get back to this, if the committee really wanted to put the best four teams in, it should have been Michigan, Washington, Georgia, Alabama, and then just go ahead and piss off the entire country.
Disagree, sir.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying those are from consensus and that listening to everything and looking at it, they're the best four teams in the country.
Because you need to look at losses.
I'm not arguing that.
And if you, yes, and I'm stabbing my
notebook, you are. Yeah.
I'm very angry right now because if you look at losses, Georgia loses to a number 7 Alabama. Alabama loses to what was a number 5 ranked Texas team that lost to, by the way, a number 12 ranked Oklahoma team
early in the year.
Kansas, and lost to some other unnamed team I don't know off the top of my head. What you do have is you have Ohio State, who lost to. Let me finish. I let you finish. You let me
but this
finish.
This is a ridiculous argument.
Let me finish.
This is the logic of fanboy.
Let me finish. You have an Ohio State team that lost to what is now the number 1 team in the country on the last game of the year. A weak quarterback is why they didn't get in. It's the only reason they are not in right now.
Thank you, Buckeye fanboy.
Plus, I'm not done. I'm not done.
You were done before you started on this.
You have an Oregon team that is a 2-loss Oregon team, and their 2 losses are against the number 2 ranked Washington. Now, Oregon should not be in because they did lose twice.
Right.
However, who has the better losses here? You have Oregon that has a better loss because they lost twice to a top team. Now, they lost twice, so they prove they can't be in the playoffs. I get where they're not in there. And you have Ohio State, who on the last game of the year lost to what is now the number 1 ranked Michigan team.
Look,
if you are looking at losses, Texas has a loss to Oklahoma, which is a bad loss that's gotten worse. They held the Notre Dame win for Ohio State against Ohio State. So how are you not holding the Oklahoma loss against Texas? And then you have an Alabama team that lost to that Texas team that lost to that Oklahoma team. If you are looking, Georgia, in fact, has a better loss than both of those teams.
Well, and I'm going to say something. And
by the way, Alabama almost lost to Auburn
if
Auburn wasn't stupid.
If it wasn't for a Hail Mary the last second.
So they don't hold that win against Alabama. They're in. This is a joke.
Are you done?
This is SEC bias for Alabama, and I'm sick and tired of this nonsense.
Of course it is. And I'll also say this. FSU beat 2 SEC teams to get in. Granted, it was when Jordan Travis was quarterbacking.
Who cares?
But it shouldn't matter. They won.
They're winning.
The problem is you've got the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the ACC. 5 conferences, 4 places. I always say if you're an undefeated team in the Power 5 conferences, you should be in.
Yep.
Alabama lost to Auburn. If it wasn't for one last second
stupid play on Auburn, Hugh Freeze screwed that up so bad. I mean,
you don't
rush two. When you've been getting to the quarterback all day long, why are you now rushing 2? Get to the quarterback and put a hit on him so he can't even make the throw.
Exactly. And that was,
I'm so angry about
The
this.
the quarterback for Alabama, made an unbelievable throw. And what did Auburn
He
do?
threw it up and the guy made a catch.
What did Auburn do? They let the guy get behind him.
Yeah, they should have just done a pass interference, knock the guy out of there. It's a 15-yard penalty in college, make him redo the down, and then actually play the game right. This is a joke that Alabama is in this. This is a bias. They beat the number one team. Okay, so what? They had a bad win against Auburn. They had a bad loss against Texas. Texas lost to Oklahoma, who has 2 losses to them. That is a terrible loss. And instead you have an Ohio State team that lost to the number 1 Michigan team. If the true Final Four should be Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and Ohio State.
No, sir.
A full future Big Ten conference.
No, sir.
Yes.
You've got
Georgia has a bad loss. Georgia should be in. Their loss is better than both Alabama's and Texas.
This shows to me that the regular season is getting to the point of being meaningless. This is all about the championship games. And if you're doing it that way, that then means you've got to take the undefeated conference champion from the ACC, soon to be Big Ten, over Alabama.
I agree. But what this tells me overall is Florida State didn't stand a chance of getting into this.
They were out before it started.
Unless Texas Texas would have had to lose the Big 12 championship, which they weren't going to do.
No.
So if Georgia wins, they're still taking Texas ahead of Florida State.
The fact that the maturations that had to take place for them to jump Alabama over FSU, it's just ridiculous. It's like if Tab A goes into Slot B, but Slot C doesn't do quite what Tab B did, then we'll get it done, and they put Alabama ahead of FSU.
You tried to turn a circle into a square. I mean, that's what you did.
And they did.
And somehow, magically, they did. But it bothers me beyond belief. And from the stories I heard, this is reports. This is from Yahoo Sports.
Allegedly.
So this is all alleged. But from the stories I heard is they started asking coaches, who would you rather face in the playoffs? And they said, well, they'd rather face Florida State than Alabama.
That should be no part of the conversation.
It shouldn't be any part of the conversation. It doesn't surprise me. They were doing everything they could to get Alabama in there because Alabama draws.
This is what happens when you have, and by the way, on this committee, there are people that aren't involved in sports.
No.
They're just the presidents or the academics from each individual college. They have no business being on this committee.
No.
This is a money grab, pure and simple.
This is a joke. Ohio State should be in the top 4.
No, they
They
shouldn't.
have the best loss out of any team on this list.
They shouldn't be on there.
They should. They lost at the last second interception to the number 1 team in the country.
If you're a conference
They have
champion,
the best loss.
if you're a conference champion, you should be in.
So what you would have then, so let me get this then. Your Final Four would be Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Alabama.
No.
Florida State, Texas?
Yes. Texas beat Alabama. This is a 1 year where the SEC doesn't get a team in. And that's never going to happen.
I agree that the SEC shouldn't have a team in this year.
That's never, ever,
So you're saying
ever.
if Georgia wins, then you're putting Florida State out too?
No, in that case, I think I'd put Texas out. You got to make a hard choice.
You're going to put Florida State in the undefeated
They're
team.
undefeated. They're in the tournament.
I agree. Florida State needs to go and win their bowl game by a lot with their third.
Well, they're playing Georgia.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So this will prove, though,
Okay.
I mean, if they win, they really belonged in.
Yeah, 100%. They need to go and win. But the bottom line, end of story, is the Final Four should be Michigan, Washington, Florida State, the Ohio State University.
Ohio State has
They have
no
the
argument.
best loss of any team. They have the best wins of any team. They have the best loss of any team.
Did they win the conference championship?
No,
Then they shouldn't be
because
in.
they put them in a weird bracket, and that's why. They should be. Let me sell this, okay?
There's no selling. They were not even in the.
I need you to agree
championship
with me on
game.
something. I need you to agree with me on something. Out of the losses of the teams that are in the top 8, Ohio State has the best loss.
Did they play in the championship game?
Oh, I'm not asking that question.
No, but that is the question.
Okay, that's fine. That can be the question. That's not what I'm asking.
I know you're looking for
I
me to
am
agree.
asking
No,
because you know I'm right.
no, I don't.
Ohio State had the best
Uh-uh.
loss of any of the one-loss teams.
They lost to the number one team in the country, but they did not make
They
it to the
have
championship
the
game.
Best loss of any team in the country, especially with the schedule that they had.
This is the
Ohio State, unlike Michigan, went through a gauntlet. Michigan didn't have to show up for 12 weeks until they faced Ohio State. That's the only game they actually had to show up for. Penn State, they barely showed up for, and they won anyway because they were a much more talented team. The only game they showed up for was Ohio State, and that's because they cheat.
Oh my God. This is the only time since they left, Penn State was left out when they had a better record and they took Ohio State over them that year.
I mean, if you look at the top 12, because next year is going to be 12. So next year you stop at Oklahoma, LSU is left out, which I also don't agree with, by the way. I take a 3-loss LSU team over a 2-loss Oklahoma that lost to 2 unranked teams.
Do you know who really loses in this
Ohio State.
besides them? They didn't
Yeah,
lose.
you admit it.
They
Okay, you
didn't
heard
lose.
it here. He admitted Ohio State is the
They
biggest loser of this.
They
Thank you.
didn't
Move on.
lose anything.
Who's the biggest loser in this?
Notre Dame. Again, they're not even in the conversation.
They were 16th in the final rankings at 9-3.
They wouldn't even be in the tournament. Notre Dame's going to have to make a decision. And as we discussed a couple episodes ago,
They're going to the Big 12.
odds are they're going to go to the Big 12.
Going to the Big 12. If you're looking at this from a business perspective, as I said, 2 or 3 shows ago now, the business sense is for Notre Dame to go to the Big 12. Because if you're going to Ohio State, or not Ohio, well, it is Ohio State. It's Ohio State's conference. But if you're going to
Michigan,
the Big 10,
they were the one that won.
shush. It's Ohio State's conference. But if you go to the Big 10, that's a gauntlet at this point.
Sure.
Like with Washington, Oregon, USC,
Probably FSU and
FSU and
Clemson.
Clemson are going to be coming in. You're going to have North Carolina and either Virginia, probably Virginia at this point. You're going to bring in because they're a big state school. You don't bring in Duke.
Miami.
You don't bring in Miami.
I know.
You're not going to build a stadium
I know.
next to there. You can't not have, if you're going to do college game day and stuff in Miami, which the Big Ten is huge with,
I know.
you have to have a stadium next to your
I'm
college.
just throwing
and they
out
don't.
a fourth team.
If Miami builds a college, or
Builds a college. They have a college. It's called the
builds
University
a
of
stadium
Miami.
next to their college, then yes. But Miami's also going to the Big 12 with Notre Dame, which is a much even bigger allure for Notre Dame to go to the Big 12.
Notre Dame has then their big game against
Correct.
Miami.
Correct.
They'll still play USC.
They'll also have Stanford going to the Big 12. When the
Right.
ACC falls apart, Stanford's going to be a Big 12 team. So is Cal.
the Big 12 is the ultimate winner in all of this because they actually showed some grit, hung on,
Yeah.
and are making a strong conference in the end.
They are. They're going to pick up the pieces from the ACC when it falls apart. They're going to take Miami. They're going to end up getting Notre Dame. They're going to get Stanford and Cal, which are big wins for them. The SEC, they're going to get Florida. Florida will become an SEC
Florida
team.
already is.
Or, not Florida. Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
I don't know what I'm thinking of either. But Florida State and Clemson will go to the Big Ten. The SEC will grab some schools from the ACC as it falls apart. But the Big Ten and the Big 12 could be scary conferences for the SEC.
This is what's going to happen. The NCAA, because they screwed up the NIL thing so badly.
Yeah.
There's going to be football's going to break away. Whether basketball is included in that, I don't know, but football will break away, and they're going to run their own deal.
100%. You know who? What else I was right about? Besides most things on this show, I've got a couple of things wrong. I understand that, but most things I get right.
Most time.
They Washington State and Oregon State just signed a deal where they are going to schedule with the Mountain West. It will only be a couple of years until they are just a member of the Mountain West.
Right.
They're big losers in this. They could also join the Big 12.
They won't. I don't see them joining. I don't think they're big enough programs.
No.
I think they fit better with the Mountain West, Stanfords of the world.
Yeah.
Fit with the Big 12.
They do. And that's what you're going to end up having, which is great for Notre Dame because you have Stanford and Miami, which are natural rivals to Notre Dame at that point. Notre Dame's not joining the Big Ten.
I don't see it.
There's no point for them to join the Big Ten. That is a bad business decision. And if I know anything about Catholics, they're going to make those good business decisions.
Well, and Notre Dame can keep their own contract if they go to the Big 12.
Yeah, because they made a deal with Texas too,
Right.
where Texas got to keep their own,
was
so
the
they'll get
SEC.
their own. They'll get their own contract. Yeah, Texas. What's happening with their network? They're not going to be able to keep it in the SEC, are they?
They are. That's part of the
Really?
deal.
That's why they didn't go to the Big Ten.
Yeah, Texas and Oklahoma, I think, have their own deals.
Separate thing. That makes sense. Notre Dame will get to keep with the Big 12. That's where they're going. But to wrap the college football up here with the playoff rankings, Ohio State is by far, Florida State and Ohio State should both be in the top 4. They should. The best loss is Ohio State. You took Ohio State over Penn State, which I didn't agree with, by the way. Penn State was the conference champion. Penn State beat Ohio State. They should have been in the Final Four.
Should have been in.
I agreed with you on that.
That was awful.
I 100% agree. I am not a full Ohio State fan here. I'm being realistic. If you're looking at the best loss,
your life,
I'm not,
because it was so painfully obvious. And look,
this is not painfully obvious.
If you don't play in your conference championship game, you do not belong in the Final Four.
So you are saying the Final Four should have been Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Texas.
That would be mine. It was never going to happen because the SEC brings in too much money. Alabama's got too much of a national play, and they want that money.
But we talked about the teams that bring in the national teams and the national rivalries, right? And who did we say?
Ohio
State has a bigger reach.
They would
Ohio State is the national team. So if you want to sell tickets, which they've listened,
you know why
Ohio
they're
State's
not
benefited from this a lot.
You know why they're not in? Kyle McCord.
He's in the transfer portal now. 2 rumors I've heard on Ohio State. 2 rumors, complete rumors. 1 validated rumor. 1 is a me really hoping rumor. They are talking about the Oklahoma kid that entered the transfer portal, reported from Oklahoma. That is big conversations with Ohio State right now. And the big question mark is Clint Ewers. Because if he is not going to the NFL, he's not going to enter the transfer portal, which means Arch Manning's going to enter that transfer portal. And Arch Manning to Ohio State.
Clint Ewers is going to be playing for somebody other than Texas next year.
Come back to Ohio State. We could have used him this year. Clint Ewers is going to the NFL. His stock is too high, but if he's not, you're not backing away from a known commodity. Arch Manning is leaving to the Ohio State University.
Oh my God,
that maybe not.
Thank you, fanboy. I will say that there's one person that went into the NFL draft and declared for it that I don't think made the right decision.
Oh, your boy
Braylon Allen is going into the NFL. I think he's going to be a 4th through 6th round pick.
Yeah, but he'll light it up because he's actually going to try. Braylon Allen for you guys this year tried 2 games and lit it up.
He did. And they had some injuries.
He 2 games and then half-assed it the rest of the season. Good riddance to him.
Not good riddance. He was a good Badger, but that's not the offense that Fickell's going to run long term. We're not going to talk about Wisconsin today, but
where were they on these rankings? Oh, they
were they even in the 25?
Sorry, I forgot. SMU, Liberty, NC State was ahead of them.
I can't believe
Louisville was ahead of them.
I can't believe Wisconsin is going to the Capital One Bowl in Tampa. Yeah, I know. I mean,
they're always in Florida.
Badger fans will flock to Florida for that, but
they sell out every game.
Every time.
Like it or not, they sell out. But you let us know what you think in the comments below and tell me again why I am right.
You're not.
You're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as
Ohio State does not belong in the playoffs.
They do. They have the best loss out of any team. The best loss.
They're losers.
You have 2 other 1-win teams in there.
One question. Did they play in the Big Ten championship?
Did they play anybody before they went to their championship games? The answer for both is
no.
So,
yeah.
Best loss, Ohio State. Ohio State should be in the Final Four with Florida State.
This brought to you by Ohio State fanboy.
I might be fanning out.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. But I agree with you. Alabama should not be in there. And the fact that Florida State is not in it is an absolute joke.
What's been interesting for me is the Paul Feinbaums of the world selling what the committee did.
Yeah.
And it's just pathetic.
If you are listening to Paul Feinbaum's opinions, you get what you deserve.
Exactly. I mean, they have the line, and the news media will follow it, even though it's right.
The sad part about all this is that we are going to lose this conversation next year. And that is the sad part about them going to 12 teams. I think 8 would have been great. If you are looking at 8 teams, what you would have now is a conversation between Oregon, Missouri, Penn State, Mississippi, and Oklahoma. And even a 3-loss LSU is in that conversation for that 8th spot. And that would be a really good conversation. When you get to 12, especially this year, you're not really talking about a lot. You have a choice between Oklahoma, Ole Miss, LSU, Arizona, Louisville. Those are your conversations.
Whoever is number 12 is going to be out in the first game.
Most likely.
99.99999% of the time.
Well, the conversation should be is, do you put an undefeated Liberty in that 12 spot? And I think you should.
Well, they probably will just put them in there because they're undefeated. And it's the old Boise State argument.
Yes.
When they should have been in, they went on to destroy Oklahoma.
The greatest college football game of all time. Moving on to the NFL, because I think you and I could talk about going down our little squirrel holes. We got Frenchie.
Oh, we have him there.
It is. But moving on to the NFL, we have had several conversations, and let me tell you, Team Simone Biles all the way. I was really nervous about Taylor Swift being at the Packers-Chiefs game because I'm like, I'm really sick and tired of seeing Taylor Swift on TV. She got her big commercial, which was great. But wife of the year to me is by far Simone Biles. She was at that game. She was just another fan, gave her husband a kiss who got flagged on a very terrible call.
One of the worst calls of the year so far.
If you don't think make good calls exist, we're going to talk about that here in just a second.
And I'm going to start
Simone Biles at that game. Did you know she's been at over half the Packers games?
And I love her because she doesn't make a big thing about it.
I didn't know she was even there.
She just goes.
Why are we not talking about her being there?
Supports it.
I'd much rather see Simone Biles than Taylor Swift on television.
American hero.
She 100% is.
Before we get started,
the biggest muscular thighs I have ever seen. Like, she has bodybuilder thighs. She's my hero.
She is, and she's
whenever I'm squatting, it's
2'6".
Okay, Tom Platt, Simone Biles. Those are the thigh muscles I want. Let's go for it.
The other one is Carrie Underwood. But anyways,
she's got calves. She's got very muscular calves because of the heels she wants or wears.
I'm going to start this. Jordan Love is a great kid. He's handled everything since he's been a Packer.
That wrong. You meant to say quarterback.
I'm going to say that in a minute. He's had a first. He's a good quarterback. Story is still to be told as to what he's going to be. I want him to succeed because I like it when good people do well.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love is a good person, and his mom I love.
Oh, I love Mama Love.
Mama Love is great. That being said, his book is this much yet.
Yeah.
And nothing's been written on it.
Aaron Rodgers.
And I don't think you sign on for a long-term deal with him until after next season.
Oh, we're going this direction.
Until after next season. Then you can do it. He's
not playing on next year's contract.
They'll sign him to another.
He is not playing on next year's contract. There's no way. They're going to sign him to a $50 to $55 million a year deal at the end of the season.
No.
Because they're going to the playoffs.
That's a mistake.
They're going to lose to the 49ers again, which is sad.
Well, because he still has Matt LaFleur, who I will give some credit to. He was more aggressive in the last game. He was.
Because he was about to lose.
I understand that, but at least he was more aggressive in the second half.
Jordan Love
go run, throw.
Loose. His confidence is coming up. He had two really good deep throws in that game. That was on the money. I don't care what you say. The catch of Romeo Doubs, that tear dropped right into his lap in between three defenders. I don't care if it was lucky. It was pretty. It was a great throw. And he followed it up with another bullet to the back of the end zone with just a little flick of the wrist.
That's one of the top 5 throws all season.
Yes.
And I will say this, when that went through, I realized that while he learned from Rodgers, he's way more like Favre.
He is the mix between the two.
I mean, he will
there was a
take a risk
between the two of them. He is the mix between Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre 100%.
I think as he gets more confidence and lets it loose, he's going to throw interceptions. This is not Aaron Rodgers, who never threw an interception.
Right.
Brett Favre did. I think Jordan Love will.
Well, because Aaron Rodgers is a once-in-a-lifetime player.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers we've talked about that. His deep ball accuracy, I mean, he didn't throw interceptions because he is the perfect thrower.
Well, and he didn't take a lot of risks. Jordan Love just doesn't have that arm strength that I've seen, where I've watched Rodgers and Favre just flick the wrist and the ball go 50 yards. Love doesn't have that.
Oh, really? Look at the throw to Watson in the back of the end zone.
It was a
flick of the wrist, firing at the arm. This kid's coming into his own. We have our third Hall of Fame quarterback.
Oh, my God.
I said it in the beginning of the season. I said it.
I know.
I said it. I've been saying it for a year and a half. 1 year, actually,
And-
almost to the day.
And
I've been saying it.
in the middle of the season, you're going, maybe not.
No, I was cautious. I was optimistically cautious in the middle of the year, but now I am proving my point, or I'm not proving it, but my point is being proven correct. Jordan Love is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Oh my God. Talk to me in 10 years. I will say this. I predicted 5 wins for the Packers. Obviously, I'm going to be wrong because they are a better team than that.
Yeah.
The defense is playing much better than I thought.
Where this defense came from.
This happened last year in December.
But I'll take it. Well, because the Packers don't lose in December. I mean, that's just what happens.
LaFleur is now
Let me ask
16
you
and
this.
0.
I want to ask you an honest question here, and I'm going to pull this up real quick because we have several starting quarterbacks. So the crazy thing is, this is a crazy stat I just learned, by the way.
Okay.
We are going to come into next week with Beathard and who is the other quarterback starting? Joe Flacco. We are going to come in. Flacco.
Really? They got him? I never thought after the after the Washington
the replacements.
Yeah.
You know what college he played at, right?
I know he lost badly in the Sugar
the
Bowl.
Ohio State University.
Yeah,
I'm glad you love him as a quarterback, as I do too. Just
not
had to throw that out there.
Not after the Sugar Bowl. Anyways,
movie the replacements, if anybody's wondering. But by the way, Valdez Scantling is Clifford Franklin in real life. He can run real fast, can't catch the damn ball. But we're talking about starting quarterbacks here. Now let's take out the obvious quarterbacks. You have Lamar Jackson, you have Josh Allen, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Joe Burrow, and you can say Trevor Lawrence in that conversation
Matthew
as well.
Stafford.
Not anymore. Matthew Stafford's too old. You can say Aaron Rodgers, right? Out of those, you're going to choose those quarterbacks ahead of
Dak Prescott.
Hold that thought. We're going to have that conversation in a second. But you're going to choose those quarterbacks over Jordan Love, right? I am going to give you a couple lists of quarterbacks here. Who would you rather have?
Okay.
Geno Smith or Jordan Love?
Jordan Love.
Okay. Jared Goff or Jordan Love?
Jared Goff.
Explain this to me. How can you say you'd rather have Jared Goff over Jordan Love after the performances you've been seeing?
He's a more experienced quarterback. He's better under pressure, and he's been tested.
Which Jordan Love will be tested in the next coming years.
You're asking me right now which one I'm going to take. I'm going to take take Jared Goff right now.
You're out of your damn mind. CJ Stroud or Jordan Love?
CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I probably would too. Let's see what else we got here for quarterbacks. These were the big ones. Okay, Anthony Richardson or Jordan Love?
We haven't seen what Richardson's going to be because of the injury, but when he did play, he was really impressive.
Anthony Richardson or Jordan Love? Jordan Love. Thank you very
Richardson.
much. Russell Wilson or Jordan Love?
Russell Wilson. We're talking about where they are in their careers right now. Russell Wilson.
Dak Prescott or Jordan Love?
This is where it gets tough, but probably Dak Prescott.
You're wrong on all these.
No, I'm not.
I'd rather have Jordan Love over Geno Smith 100% of the time. I'd rather have Jordan Love over Russell Wilson with the way he's been playing lately. Wait
a minute. Russell Wilson won 4 or 5 in a row, and he lost at the last second last time.
Yeah, prove it. I would rather have Jordan Love over Jared Goff, who Jordan Love just beaten outperformed, by the way. I'd rather have Jordan Love than Dak Prescott because here's the thing. Right now, Dak Prescott's the MVP, right? Right now.
Yes.
But he is a 3-interception game away from going right back to where he was and the Cowboys being the Cowboys.
Let me ask you one.
You want to talk about over time? Over time, he has had a terrible, terrible situation.
I'd rather have
Jordan. More than I got 2 more.
I'd rather have Jordan Love working with Mike McCarthy.
Well, yes.
But here's mine. Jordan Love, Brock Purdy.
Jordan Love. Jordan Love without even a second thought. If Jordan Love was on that San Francisco 49ers team, they wouldn't have lost 3.
And you just said the magic word. They were on the San Francisco team, which is the best organization in all of football.
Correct.
Brock Purdy has been perfect for that offense, and
yeah, he's a decent quarterback. But I mean, if you're talking about who would you rather have, Jordan Love or Brock Purdy?
I can't do it because of the system.
Jordan Love.
I would not want. You're right. I would not want Brock Purdy on the Packers because I think,
and that's what you have to think about on all these. If Russell Wilson, which almost happened, by the way, we called that trade. By the way, go back and look. Russell Wilson was 2 seconds away from being a Green Bay Packer.
Episode 2, wasn't it?
It was very
early.
It was a couple years ago. It was we were 6 months in when we called that.
You were
trade.
less than 6 months in.
Probably. Yeah, actually, that was,
Yeah, it
you're
was-
right. That was like our 5th or 6th episode. But going back anyway, if you have Russell Wilson in this offense versus Jordan Love,
I think
who'd you rather have?
like Russell Wilson.
You're out of your mind.
No,
Dak
I'm not.
Prescott in this offense versus Jordan Love.
See, I think they're almost a wash. You put Dak Prescott on this offense, you put Jordan Love with Mike McCarthy, you might have the same results.
No, you wouldn't, because Dak Prescott is he's better about interceptions now that Mike McCarthy's actually gotten a
He's
hold
playing.
of it.
He is.
But if you take Dak Prescott previously in this offense versus Jordan Love with Mike McCarthy,
We're talking
you
about
take
now,
Jordan
though.
Love,
And Dak Prescott is playing almost at MVP level.
because Mike McCarthy got a hold of him.
Okay.
If you put Jared Goff in Green Bay versus Jordan Love right now,
I think Goff would be able to run the same.
out of your mind.
Goff
I got 2 more quarterbacks.
Goff would be able to run the LaFleur offense just as well, and he wouldn't.
No, he wouldn't, because you know why? Jordan Love is audibling out of Matt LaFleur's stupid
Well, you don't
plays.
think Jared Goff would be audibling out?
No, Jared Goff right now has the best offensive coordinator in the league.
Yeah.
On our team, we have maybe the 28th best offensive coordinator on our
and
team
these-
as our
all
head
these-
coach.
And all these wins are going to guarantee LaFleur's coming back.
I know. Makes me sad. But honestly, if you put Jordan Love on that Detroit team doesn't lose a game.
Oh, I don't think so.
110%. These are
Jordan-
the 2 quarterbacks I really have questions. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was just going to say, Jordan Love is still making his rookie mistakes, and next year is going to be the year that tells the tale
Third
because
year.
his second
He's
year,
gonna have a sophomore slump.
he's going to have a sophomore slump, and people are going to have the book on him.
Right.
And I
Who
was
were we
watching
listening to that said
Aaron Rodgers.
that? That's right. It was Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers.
Rodgers.
Today.
Now that they have the book, in that third year, it tests you mentally. And how do you respond? I think Love is going to respond okay. I just don't want to see him with these huge, massive contracts. I don't think he's earned it yet.
Okay, let me ask you 2 more quarterbacks.
Okay, go ahead.
Would you rather have Jordan Love or Derek Carr?
Jordan.
Would you rather have Jordan Carr
Jordan Carr?
or Jordan Love? I wouldn't want to have Jordan Carr.
Wow.
Would you rather have Jordan Love or Daniel Jones?
Well, that's not even close.
Answer
Dan-
the question.
Jordan Love, obviously.
Okay.
I think Jordan Love is
Now let's talk contract
is
extension.
a 15 to
Yeah.
20
I agree.
quarterback right now.
Well, I don't agree. Actually, he's a top 10 quarterback.
I don't think
right now. In fact, if you look at his
Well,
numbers
no,
versus Dak Prescott's numbers, Jordan Love should be in the MVP conversation right now.
Well, depending how far he goes, he may be.
Jordan Love completion percentage is the same as Dak Prescott's. His quarterback rating is the same as Russell. Well, not Russell Wilson's. Who am I thinking of? Who else? Lamar Jackson's.
Okay.
It's the same quarterback rating as Lamar Jackson. If you look at his touchdowns, he has more touchdowns than most quarterbacks in the league. I think he's tied for 3rd for touchdowns in the entire league.
I want him to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm a Packer fan. I want him to succeed.
He's going to.
I just
Enjoy
want to
the
give him
ride.
time.
Okay, but he's not playing on that dog shit contract he's got coming.
He's
up.
got a
He's
what?
not.
$22.5 million up
With
to
incentives. It's
up
up to.
to. I think there was maybe 13 million guaranteed.
It was 12 million guaranteed.
Okay.
He's not playing for 12 million guaranteed next year with the way.
No, he's not. They're
It's
going to have.
not going to happen. And what you need to do is, while you can, get him on a contract that will be team friendly in the next few
He
years.
won't sign
If
it.
you look at Daniel Jones' contract,
40
after
million?
next year, that is going to look cheap for quarterbacks. Now, if you're talking Jordan Love, right? So let's talk contract extension.
And by the way, I will give Jordan Love the credit on this. He could have pushed it to try to sign that made the Packers give him a 5th-year option for 22 million.
He didn't
He
care.
didn't. He bet on himself.
Right. He didn't care. He's like, I just want to play football. I
He
don't
wanted
want to
to-
be a distraction. I just want to play football.
He did what Falco did.
Fla-
Or Flacco. God, I've done this ever since he
Bet
played.
himself, won a Super Bowl.
He
But
bet
don't
himself.
say that, because then Flacco was terrible for the rest of his career.
Well, I know.
He wasn't. He was a top 20 quarterback for the rest of his career.
Look, Love is going to benefit from being in a really, really good organization.
Yeah.
Overall.
Overall, it'll get
Minus
better once the top people leave.
And
Minus GM, president, and coach.
Yeah.
Great organization.
Great
besides Those
organization.
3 things. Hey, it could be Carolina. So
Ooh.
at least we
No.
got that.
okay,
which
go
will-
ahead.
If we're talking contract extension, right? You
Yeah.
said he was better than Geno Smith, right? So he was given 3 years, $75 million with a $26 million signing bonus.
That seems
So
reasonable.
that's $25 million a year for him. If you're talking better than Daniel Jones, he was given $40 million a year. You're talking about better than Derek Carr, he was at $30 million a year. So you are at least looking between $30 and $40 million a year. Now, Jared Goff, I will take out of it. I would much rather have Jordan Love than Jared Goff, and that's not even close. But he was an outlier. He signed a big contract a while ago.
Right.
Let's take him out of that. He
had been to a Super Bowl.
He had been to a Super Bowl. He signed a big deal with the Rams after that, and then was traded because they wanted to go win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. Now, if we're looking at Dak Prescott, which I would much rather have Jordan Love than Dak Prescott, he was signed for $40 million a year as well. You're looking at Russell Wilson, who Jordan Love has been close to. He has outperformed him over a year. The last 4 weeks, they've been very close in statistics. He signed a 5-year, $245 million contract with $50 million guaranteed.
Okay.
It's a $50 million signing bonus. I'm sorry.
Look, I don't have a problem if they sign him to a 3-year, $90 million contract. I just
That's $49 million a year for Russell Wilson.
I'm talking Jordan Love. I want him to have some incentive to play, and I don't want a 5 or 6 year contract because
it's going to be a 4-year deal.
I don't want it to be 4. I want it to be 3.
To make a 3-year deal.
I can see him signing.
You're talking the Aaron Rodgers
including
contract.
Next year.
Yeah.
Next year, and okay, I'm talking a 2-year contract because I'd want next year and the year after for him to prove what he is. It's not going to, and I know it's not going to happen.
Then you're giving him the Aaron Rodgers contract of 3 years, $150 million.
I am not.
That's what you're going to have to sign him to get him for 3 years. You're going to sign. This is going to be a 6 or 7 year contract.
That'd be
and you're talking $50 million a year.
It's the NFL, so there's voidable years.
There are. He's going to get a 7-year, $350 million contract.
Absolutely not.
With $82 million guaranteed.
Absolutely not. I think he's going to be in the area of $40 million guaranteed.
You can't do that when Daniel Jones just got $40 million and he is nowhere near Jordan Love.
Look,
Jordan Love is a top 15 this year, especially the last 5 weeks. He's been a top 10 quarterback. You take his whole year, he's a top 12 quarterback.
The price of poker goes up with each win, I will admit to that.
They're going to go in and face Daniel Jones on Monday night.
Which I can't believe that game hasn't been flexed.
It's the same thing with Sunday night with the Kansas City Chiefs game.
Packers draw.
The NBC executive said, you guys are lucky we don't have the Packers on every Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
The Packers draw. You are not taking the Packers out of prime time. The Packers can have one win, and every Packer fan, which is the largest fan base in the country, in the world really, for football, they all tune in to watch.
Random fact about Packer fans. There is a Packer bar in each and every major U.S. city right now.
Plus London.
There's one in St. Pete, Clearwater. I mean, they're everywhere. You can go to Miami and find a Packer bar.
You can. They're everywhere. They're America's real team.
They really are.
Go Pack Go.
Yes. Okay.
Let's go back to Jordan Love here. I just don't understand where you are missing this concept. You are one of the people that say they're about to get billion-dollar TV deals kick in. The salary cap's going to go through the roof. You need to lock this kid up now. You looking at 5 years from now, $50 million is going to be a bargain for a quarterback.
But we aren't there. And this young quarterback,
young Hall of Fame quarterback.
Talk to me in 10 years. This young quarterback
stop eating sugar and I'll be able to talk to you in 10 years.
Hasn't proven anything yet. I think it would be a mistake to sign. You can go in after year 2. If he has a great year next year, sign him to 5-6 years.
You can't play him on next year's contract.
I'm not saying that. They're going to sign him to a longer contract. I just don't think you put in a ton of money in those out years.
This is where Gutekunst screwed up. You had the 5th-year option. You can play him on the 5th-year option, which would have been $25 million, and you could have seen it. But now you have him on $12 million guaranteed versus $25 million guaranteed, and now you have to talk actually long-term extension. This was a screw-up by the GM for not giving him the 5th year.
You mean
and just eating it.
Well, because he thought he was too smart by half. The same thing he did with Devontae Adams. We'll just wait. We've got time. We can do this.
You don't.
And instead of signing Love to the 5th-year option and going and believing in what you have, if you really thought Jordan Love was going to be the Jordan Love we've seen, yeah, you sign him to 5th year.
He outthinks himself on these instead of just making smart football decisions.
He's too smart by half.
$25 million for 1 year to see what he's like in his second year versus he's going to get $50 million a year. this offseason.
He's not going to get fit. He's not going to get fit.
He's going to get $50 million a year. That is going to happen, and he will be worth every penny.
If he becomes a Hall of Fame quarterback.
You have Geno Smith getting $25 a year. You have Derek Carr getting $30 a year.
Which I think is reasonable.
Daniel Jones getting $40 a year.
That's an outlier contract, and I think the owners looked at it and went, the same as Deshaun Watson, this was a mistake. We'll never do it again.
What did Jimmy Garoppolo get?
I have no idea.
It was like 3 years, $175 million.
Okay. 3 years. He's going to play one of it. The other 2 years will be voided.
No, they're not. He's got like $100 million guaranteed.
He'll get his $100
million. The Raiders make dumb deals. You're talking about Dak Prescott, who hasn't lived up to his contract except the last 5 games, who is sitting at $40 million a year. You have Russell Wilson, who hasn't lived up to his contract except the last 5 games, sitting at $49 million a year. Jordan Love is going to get a $50 million with an $82 million signing bonus in guarantees. And Mama Love is going to be able to move in a really nice house in Green Bay and be loved by everybody here. And it couldn't happen to a better guy.
He is a good guy. And I always worry about young guys with just the world tossed at him. And I think Jordan is smart enough and he's mature enough. He'll be able to handle it.
Here's what Jordan Love has in his ear at all times. Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. That came out today too.
They talk every single week.
Aaron Rodgers had a birthday party last weekend, and he would go and talk to some of the big shots that were at the party. And as soon as he was done, he'd go back to the McAfee crew or whoever was there and say, "How's Jordan doing?"
To watch the game.
Aaron Rodgers is a class act.
He is. He loves the Green Bay Packers. He is a Packer for life. He didn't want to leave the organization, but left the organization in what he feels is good hands.
Yes, I think he believes in Jordan. I think Jordan Love is just a good guy.
He is.
I mean, he's the kind of guy you hope your daughter meets.
Yeah, he's a kid that had to grow up in a hurry. Those of you that don't know, Jordan Love's dad killed himself. He had a bad situation, had some medicine switched up on him, and whatever you want to blame it on, he ended up committing suicide. Right. And Jordan Love had to become the man of the family real quick. His dad was a cop, his mom was a cop, and his mom said, "You're going to school, young man."
And he's got a great family.
He does.
And he represents it well.
Here's the thing. There's another quarterback in the NFL that had that same situation who has been long since retired. Can you name that quarterback?
No.
Archie Manning.
Really?
Archie Manning, when he was in his second year at Ole Miss, his dad killed himself.
I did not know that.
And he was about to leave to go and take care of his family, and his mom said, "You get your ass back in school, young man."
Smart mom.
And he did, and went on to be a really good quarterback for some really bad teams.
Hope Jordan Love wins out this year.
He's going to. He's going to win this year, next year, the year after, because this is the Green Bay Packers, okay? And I have Bears fans, I have Vikings fans, I have Lions fans, and their biggest fear is coming true, which is Jordan Love is looking like a third Hall of Fame quarterback, and all of them looked at me today when I went into the office and said, "Damn, Jordan Love looks really good."
If the Packers go back to back Hall of Fame quarterbacks, I never want to hear anybody complain when we say God is a Packer fan.
110% at this point. Let me ask you one more quarterback before we move on to our football picks. Kirk Cousins or Jordan Love?
Kirk Cousins is injured. But if he was not injured, Kirk Cousins.
Okay. I apologize for my father. He has clearly not taken his medicine today. I will bring him back to the home after this.
This year.
The nurses will force him a shot.
Of what?
I don't know. Hopefully something good to make your brain right.
I want Jordan Love to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. I just want to temper expectations and let him grow.
He is going to grow, and next year there's going to be a whole bunch of tape on him, but that is where we're going to be in trouble, not because of Jordan Love, but because of a coach that isn't going to adjust well when other teams adjust. Dogs come to say hi.
Cooper's coming to be on camera today.
That's where Mike McCarthy also is a really good coach, because Aaron Rodgers didn't have a sophomore slump. In fact, his sophomore slump was a Super Bowl victory.
Right.
He didn't have it because Mike McCarthy did a really good job of making sure he adjusted to those strengths.
I would love to have McCarthy coaching Jordan Love in this team right now.
coming to say hi to me now, too.
Yeah, he's looking at you
Lay down,
going,
pup.
maybe he will be a Hall of Famer.
He is going to be a Hall of Famer.
I hope you're right.
He is going to be a Hall of Famer, and he is going to get a massive contract extension at the end of this year. But let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. Before we move on with the show, I do have to say one more thing. We are 83,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough, but I need a favor from all your friends and family. 100,000 before midnight, December 31st, and I get to give this guy a tattoo of the Sports Talk with Dad logo, ensuring he cannot be buried in the same cemetery as my grandmother because she would roll over in her grave. And that sounds fun to me, so please help me make this happen. I appreciate everybody that has subscribed. And
last week, week 13, I was 3-2. You were once again 4-1.
2 weeks in a row, 4-1.
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. I'm getting pretty good at this.
Well done.
I have to say, pat on the back.
After the early season slump you had, I'm not worried about 2 weeks.
I'm pretty sure these are my only 2 winning records for the entire season, but I am going to take it as a win, and I'm going to continue this right now. And you, by the way, have no choice but to do something at the end of this. But let's go on first. You always pick the first game, so the first game is on you.
Rams versus the Ravens.
Ravens are going to roll the Rams. The Ravens are getting hot. This is their year. The AFC's weak this year, much weaker than we thought. The Chiefs are not what we thought they were.
How many quarterbacks have gone down?
We're getting on to our 55th starting quarterback of the NFL season, which is unheard of.
I don't want them to put in more protections for quarterbacks.
No, you can't. Including, by the way, the hit on Patrick Mahomes, which was not an illegal hit. And yes, that pass interference call at the end was a make good call.
Yes, it was.
Appreciate it, refs. Thank you very much.
Okay.
But the Ravens are going to roll. The Rams, I mean, they're just not a good team anymore. They're way too aged. The Ravens are going to win big.
Rams looked good last week. They won. Matthew Stafford looked good.
Then all of a sudden, you're going to the cold to see Lamar Jackson.
Is it your turn?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Continue.
Teams from the West never go to the East and play well. It's going to be colder in Baltimore. I'm also going to go with the Ravens.
All right, my pick now. This game interests me beyond belief. You have the Colts with Gardner Minshew bringing his Mississippi Magic, and you have the Bengals where their backup quarterback is all of a sudden starting to make a play. What do you got?
This has been interesting because the Colts without Richardson, I didn't think would do anything, and yet they're winning. And the Bengals won last week in OT, but they didn't look real great doing it. I'm taking the Colts in this one.
Gardner Minshew is bringing that Minshew magic. I love his I love his mullet. I love his mustache, and I love everything about him. But Browning, I don't know where this came from, but this guy's about to be a starting quarterback someplace. On top of that, you have Chase Young, you have T. Higgins, you have Joe Mixon, and you have a defense that's been playing pretty well as of late.
Isn't Browning like 25?
He's been a backup for a while in the league. He's close to Jordan Love's age. I know that. They've been in the league almost the same time. But I am 110% going with the Bengals to continue to roll. Football Jesus is on the sideline helping Browning. And A.J. McCarron is back in a Bengal uniform. 100% the Bengals are going to win this game.
Next game for the NFC West. Seahawks travel down to San Francisco, California.
I mean, here's the question. Which Seahawks team is going to show up? And which Niners team is going to show up?
Niners showed up last week against Philadelphia.
They did. Right now, the Niners are the second place in the NFC. The Seahawks are out of the playoffs right now. They are fighting for their lives. It all depends which teams are going to show up. If we're looking at the Seattle team that we saw in week 3, 4, 5, then Seattle might actually have a chance. If we see the Niners team that's been showing up last week and earlier in the season, then the Niners are going to blow them out of the water. So it really depends. But we do have the Niners at home. The Niners did just come off a really good win against the Eagles, and the Seahawks just came off a really bad loss against the Rams. I think the Seahawks, and this is personal, by the way, I'm not a Seahawks fan, so I hope this happens, where the Seahawks are going to fall off. They're not going to make the playoffs. This is where it ends. The Niners roll.
49ers are the best team in the NFC right now. I think they've figured out whatever stumbles. Everybody in a 17-week season, I think we're going to find out over time. Everybody's going to go into a 2 or 3
get hot
game
at the right time.
49ers getting hot. Brock Purdy has got his game back dialed in. Plus, he's got everything around him. 49ers win in a pretty decisive win.
This is a huge game with the next pick. I appreciate you leaving this pick for me because we have the Eagles at the Cowboys for not only the division, but possibly the lead in the NFC. Who you got?
Eagles didn't look good last week. As a matter of fact, I don't think they've looked that great the last couple weeks.
They've had an interesting season. They won a lot of close games.
They have. Jalen Hurts is still the best quarterback in the NFC, I would think. Anybody would say. The Cowboys have been up and down, and you never know what you're going to. Speaking of teams, you don't know what you're going to see, but they seem to be getting hot at the right time. Dak Prescott played very well last week. Mike McCarthy is an outstanding coach that doesn't get nearly the credit he deserves. I'm taking the Cowboys at home.
Really?
Yes.
See, the Cowboys, 100%. Dak Prescott is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That's a terrible Forrest Gump impression, but I appreciate you holding on for me. I just don't know what Dak's going to show up. I'm waiting for the other foot to fall. I have
Other shoe to fall.
Thank you. My metaphors
are awful.
I am Yogi Berrying this thing all day long. Who
are you taking really in the game?
I have a Cowboy fan. His name's Scott. He's a big Cowboy fan, right? And he always tells me, Dak's going to show up again. Dak Prescott's going to show up.
Shows up for a couple weeks.
It's just a matter of time when Dak's going to show up again. It's a matter if McCarthy can keep himself out of his head and play at the MVP level. If you look at the Eagles, they've been screwing up the last 2 weeks. If you look at A.J. Brown, especially from week 2 until 2 weeks ago, A.J. Brown is putting up receiver numbers we haven't seen in the NFL since Randy Moss was with the Patriots. All of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, A.J. Brown has disappeared. He is not part of that offense. And if they continue to do that, they are going to lose this game. But I think you have Sirianni, who is a very good coach, who is going to adjust. A.J. Brown is going to have a massive game this week, and the Eagles are going to get a decisive win on the road.
I'm not sure because their offensive line is not giving Hurts the time he's needed. I don't know where the miss is.
Every team stumbles. Listen, this could end up being a Dallas win. It definitely could. But if you bring A.J. Brown back into the mix like you need to, then the Eagles are going to win. Go back to playing like you did 2 weeks ago when you were destroying teams. Quit playing like you've been playing the last couple weeks, and they'll be just fine.
Final game, as always.
You have one choice on this one.
The Green Bay Packers go to the Giants. I would think you'd want me to take the other team because I've done that the last several weeks.
That's what I'm saying.
The Packers
You continue.
One. Packers and Giants. Who you got?
I mean, the Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame quarterback is going to show up yet again against a terrible Giants team.
It's just a bad team. I'm taking the Green Bay as well.
No, you are not.
I am.
No, you're not.
I am.
No, you're not. You have bet against the Packers. I have bet for the Packers the last 3 weeks. And the last 3 weeks, Packers have played really, really good football.
I know.
So you are not allowed to pick the Packers. You are picking the Giants, and you are picking against the Packers the rest of this season.
No, because the Packers are a better team. Jordan Love is a better quarterback than whoever's starting for the Giants.
No.
Okay.
You are picking the Giants.
Okay, for Kyle, I'm taking the Giants, but really I'm taking the Packers.
No, don't even go back. Don't say it. Go back. Who are you taking? I am taking the Packers.
Good.
You are taking the
Packers.
No.
They've got to win when I pick them.
Listen. You are going to jinx this game. You are going to force us to lose this game because you have done a great job in doubting the Packers.
Yes.
You are like the guy from Major League 2 who hated on the Indians the entire season and then in the end jump on and then they lose. No.
Wasn't that Randy Quaid that did that?
Was Randy Quaid. Dude's a weirdo, man.
He is strange.
But I liked his movies.
I like Cousin Eddie.
You cannot pick the Packers. You can't. Because they're going to lose if you pick the Packers.
We'll find out. We're testing it.
You can go back in the tapes. Anytime you've picked the Packers, they've lost. Anytime you've picked the other team, the Packers have won.
Mm-hmm.
No.
What are we up to? You've got the show sheet.
You're picking the Packers.
Taking the Packers.
Okay, Packer fans, if we lose against a terrible Giants team, you know who to blame.
Oh, believe me, if the Packers lose, I don't even want to talk to you next week.
Let us know what you think in the comments below and beg him to continue to pick against the Packers. I'm going to try and get him to change his pick throughout the week. Hopefully that will bring some luck. You let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. But as anybody knows that watches this show, you cannot have a conversation without your father, without your dad getting the last word. So it is all you.
So this week we're going to talk about doing the right thing, and there's been 2 examples of it that I've been very impressed with. Number 1, Dr. Pepper. They awarded both contestants in the halftime competition of the Big 12 championship the $100,000 after a scoring screw-up. Gavin White from Ohio State, Ryan Georgian,
The Ohio State.
yeah, whatever. Ryan Georgian of Penn were in a competition where you're putting footballs through tires or whatever. Georgian won after the second tiebreaker. However, fans on social media pointed out a scoring error that they caught immediately that gave Georgian an extra completion during the first tiebreaker. So, right, Gavin White should have won. Dr. Pepper, when they found out about the technical glitch on the scoring system, immediately came out, acknowledged the technical error, and they awarded both of them a $100,000 scholarship. So good for you, Dr. Pepper. Now, the second one, the Having Your Priorities Right Award. This is the best story of the year. Goes to Utah State quarterback Levi Williams. He announced he's not returning for his senior year. Instead, he's applying to become a Navy SEAL. Now, you folks don't know what Navy SEAL training is like. It is hell on earth because they push you to the point where you're begging. You've got to dig deep. And Williams is going to go in. What Williams said that he loved about the SEALs ethos was that their motto is no one guy is better than another. And I did some research and I've seen some YouTube videos. Star college players usually don't make it because they've never really been tested. Leaders of organizations or managers that go in don't make it because they delegated the responsibility in the past. Tough guys with all the huge muscles you would think would go in and be able to take all of this. They don't make it because they're just out individually to try to prove things. The guys that survive and thrive are sometimes the skinny guys. Sometimes it's the guys who are actually afraid to even be there. But when it's on the line and they see one of their fellow SEALs is in deep trouble, they find that next level and they dig deep and they save not only their friends, but they save themselves. Those are the best heroes and the best SEALs. So from everything I've heard about Levi Williams, he's going to be one of the ones that's going to worry about his buddies and is going to dig deep when he has to and will be an excellent Navy SEAL. Congratulations, Levi Williams. America is very proud.
Might have been one of your best last words I've ever heard.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, as always, for watching. This is Sports Talk with Dad, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.